Hello, everybody, and welcome to another artist interview. Today, I have the beautiful, talented Michaela, also known as Mickeyn. She is an awesome artist. She works with characters, and today we're gonna get an inside scoop of how she goes about her work. How you doing, Michaela?
I'm doing super good. I hope you're doing good too.
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. Today, why don't we go ahead and get started with some introductions? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your life? Where did you go to school? What classes did you take? Did you study? And what helped you prepare become the artist that you are today?
I'm actually a graduate of the Art Institute of Virginia Beach. I graduated back in March of 2018. To get where I am now, a lot of what I do, I learned while I was at school and I have further refined since. Thankfully, that stuck around. I'm just like, okay, great. I now know how to study, I now know how to break things down. My major was multimedia art and animation. I always wanted to work TV, movies, and things like that, and I always wanted to be able to develop the characters. I now know how to design what characters for what medium they're going to be used for. And I now have the perspective of, oh, somebody's going to be modeling this, somebody's going to be animating this. They have to know the ins and outs of the character visually at least. So, how easy I want to make it for them or how complex I want to make it based on what we're working with, budget, medium, various other things. That's what's helped me figure out what I want to do with my own characters because can I see them doing multiple things? It helps me decide what I'm going to use them for. I can't pinpoint the age exactly right now, but I know I was in first grade. My dad drew a picture and I really, really wanted to replicate it. So I spent all my time, I redrew it so many times. And I was like, I think I finally got it down. And they were like, yeah, you're right there. And then when I was like in third grade, I just drew like comics all the time when I was in class, and they would make my mom laugh. And I was like, oh great, I want to keep doing that. So from then on, it's just been constant.
Gotcha. Did you get to draw a lot in while you were in high school and all throughout?
Yes, I went to a school that was a little bit outside of my district for their art magnet program. While I was there, I was part of the independent studies and the AP art class because my teacher saw that, oh, you genuinely enjoy doing this. Do you want to be moved to where the older kids are? So I was able to paint, I was able to explore a little bit more, learn more about art from outside of what I just knew, picked up a new favorite artist to emulate. I'm very thankful to be able to paint as much as I was in high school because I would not have pursued it probably
Oh,
otherwise.
wow. That's awesome. So, were there any artists that maybe inspired you at that point?
At that point, there were two mainly. Alphonse Mucha, who did a lot of Art Nouveau, and then the artist for Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama. I wanted to find a nice in between. A lot of people really enjoyed what I was doing. I wanted to do kind of cartoony, stylized stuff, but I didn't want to push, and I wanted to do realism just to say I could do it, but I didn't really want to lean too far into either or. So I tried to merge them as much as I could. The two of them, Mucha and Toriyama, really helped mold into the art style that I have right now.
And talking of which, talk to us a little bit about what projects are you working right now? What art are you creating?
So outside of commission work, right now I'm just trying to push my stories with my original characters. I have a series right now that I'm trying to weld together because I have so many different parts of it that just need to come together. I have a one series called Bay City Patrol. I was working on it when I was at the Art Institute, and I was just like, oh, hey, cute, futuristic police officers. But then from there, it was just like, no, I actually really care a lot about these two characters. So it went into there, and now I have two characters mainly for that series. And as a subsection of that series, I have another two set of characters who are cousins that live in that same universe. And from there, as a comic book in that universe, I have my main character who I've been drawing a lot lately named 5 Point. So it's all part of one big thing. It's just getting down the details for each separate section of that universe.
And I know for a fact that that is a tons and tons of work and research. And talking about that, can you share with us about your process? How do you get inspired and maybe what things you do? And afterwards, how do you buckle down and get some work done?
I find like inspiration a lot in a lot of the stuff that I look at. I follow a lot of fashion blogs on Instagram, and I look through sometimes and I'm like, would my character wear this? And if so, which one would be the one to wear this? So, because I want to do more illustrative work and I want to have them in more fancy clothes because I enjoy fashion a lot. just developing their characters as a whole, I just think back a lot on what I've been through growing up, what I want to be like in the future. If I had to talk to myself from like 10 years ago, what would I tell myself? How would I see myself as a
Hmm.
separate person? So, and then just digging through my favorite artists on Instagram as well, looking through their sketchy stuff just to see how they get their ideas down. Spending maybe 20 minutes just working out little basic gestures. I'm like, oh, this is the perfect gesture for, let's say, my character X Factor. I draw them in that pose. Whether it's finished or not, I'm fine. It's just is now is something to add to their character Bible. So I don't really force it because whatever I do, it's just something to add to their profile. I don't normally set out to draw anyone specifically. It's just kind of,
Free
oh,
flow.
yeah.
Gotcha. So that's very interesting because you're literally grabbing all that inspiration from whatever you can. And I agree. And I myself do the same thing. Whenever I'm looking for inspiration, well, how about this? I'm not even looking for inspiration. I just stumble on things that then later on inspire me to create my artwork. Very nice. While you're designing, what do you consider to be most fun? And then tell us, what do you consider to be most difficult to work with?
I draw girls all the time. I'm always drawing female characters, but I don't necessarily think that they're easy to draw. Male characters, I have just as much fun drawing male characters. I just don't draw them nearly as often. With male characters, you're allowed to a lot of range. And for whatever reason, when I go to draw one, it's like, oh, she'd be perfect as a girl, so I just draw her as a girl. My brain immediately goes to drawing a girl because for years when I was younger, I couldn't draw girls to save my life. Then when I got into high school and I started studying Alphonse Mucha, most of his subjects were women. So I broke that down and I was like, okay, well now I'm gonna be the girl artist. And I kind of just stuck with that. So I enjoy drawing girls the most, but they're not the easiest for me to do because I'm so bent on make sure I get the construction right and everything like that.
You are literally drawing, and I've seen your Instagram, your artwork. There's a lot of females, like most of the time. I would never even think that there will be like a challenge for you to draw, but yet they've always been a little bit challenging, and you're tackling it head on. That is very impressive.
Thank you.
Is there anything in particular that you do outside of that to keep yourself creative?
Watching cartoons, honestly. The Amazing World of Gumball is really funny. I love that because it's just so much happening at one time. And yet you can still focus just enough to see all the weird characters in the background and how they all mesh together. Though some are 2D, some are 3D. It's wild. OKKO is also really, really good. I like their art style. It's mostly just Cartoon Network stuff, really. I don't really go out of my way to look for new cartoons, but that's just what shows up. Craig of the Creek is really good. I like them a lot. And then I just think back on the stuff I used to watch. Like I used to watch Pepper Ann, Fillmore. Because when you sit down and think about it, it's like, were these cartoons really as good as we remember them? A lot of the time, yeah. So I just think about them and I'm like, what about these made me fall in love with them? So I just think about that.
So, Michaela, can you give us like a word of wisdom for anybody who might be aspiring artists to get to that level that you're at right now? Can you throw us a little bit of those golden nuggets that you've learned along the way?
I have two. Take your time and get down your observation skills. Those are your two main things. For years, I used to pride myself on how quickly I could get a piece done. And lately, I've just been going back and looking at my old stuff. And it's just kind of like, yeah, this looks like it took you 30 minutes to do. When I know I'm fully aware of what I was able to do back then, it's just for whatever reason, I was just like, I got to pump out this work. When I didn't really have to do that. I could have just took my time. I could have spent an hour more just adding just a little bit. Like my old character sheets I did for school. I didn't mind those being a little bit quicker, like not putting as much time into them. But when I go to do their illustrations featuring these characters, they could have had more work put into them. So take your time. Take your time. And people say practice. A lot of people say just practice and you're going to get better. If you don't know what to practice and you don't know what to focus on, then that's going to be difficult. You're going to be kind of just all over the place and not really focusing on any one thing. And that can mess you up. That can slow you down ultimately.
Very true.
Time management, observation skills, that's just it, those two things.
How about for observation skills? What things do you think can be helpful to increase those?
Gesture drawings, really. They kind of weld into each other, so I was going to say anatomy practice as well. But if you do enough gesture drawings, eventually you're going to get a sense of anatomy just from doing those. Noticing how things flow into each other. Paying attention to the weight of the pose is over here, so that means it's going to be a little bit looser over here. How to balance things out. How is the human figure, or any figure for that matter, naturally balanced so that way it's not toppling over? just things like that, like paying attention to what you're doing versus just kind of blindly copying what you're looking at. Study your subject.
Wow, Mickeyn, that's been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Real quick before we let you go, if people would like to contact you, reach out to you, can you give us a little bit of where can we do that?
Yes, so my DMs are always open, mostly through Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm up there under Mickeyn163. I'm also on Twitter under the same username, ArtStation. And then I can't remember how it's pronounced. It's either Kofi or Coffee. I'm up there as Mickeyn space art. So you can reach out to me on there for commissions.
Will do. I'm gonna go ahead, place those links below. Guys, support Mickeyn, follow her. She's incredibly talented and she's doing some awesome things. Thank you, Mickeyn, again. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.